Hi, in this tutorial I will give an overview of ASP.NET Core with Razor. So here is the contents of this tutorial. First, a short introduction and an introduction to ASP.NET Core. Then we will get started with using ASP.NET Core with Razor. We will create an ASP.NET Core web application in Visual Studio. And then we will learn the basics regarding Razor. We will learn how to create and use the Razor syntax. So let's dig into the details and give an introduction to ASP.NET Core with Razor. First, let's start with ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core is a framework for building web applications and services using the .NET and the C# programming language. The ASP.NET Core framework supports different types of applications and services, and here are some examples. ASP.NET Core with Razor pages. This is the focus in this tutorial, and in my opinion, the recommended option. We have also something called ASP.NET Core Model View Controller. We have something called ASP.NET Core Blazor Web Apps, and we can also create so-called web APIs or REST APIs using ASP.NET Core. And then you have ASP.NET Core Web API with controllers, and a newer approach called ASP.NET Core Minimal Web APIs. But in this tutorial we will focus on creating a basic web application using ASP.NET Core with Razor pages. Here we see a short overview of the history of ASP.NET Core. I will not dig into too many details, but it all started in 1996, where the first version of Active Server Pages was released. Then in 2002, the first version of .NET Framework and ASP.NET was released. In 2016, .NET Core and ASP.NET Core was released, and in 2017 then the first release of ASP.NET Core with Razor pages was released. So basically ASP.NET Core is a framework for web development, and ASP.NET Core is based on the .NET and the previous .NET framework, but now it's just called .NET and the C# programming language. You can also use Visual Basic .NET, but C# is the recommended and default language that you should use in ASP.NET Core. So what is the difference between ASP.NET Core and the .NET? Basically, ASP.NET is specially designed for web development, while the .NET covers a more broader range of applications like Windows desktop applications, etc. In ASP.NET Core Razor, which is the focus in this tutorial, the code and the layout are separated into two different files. We have the layout file with the extension .cshtml. This is also referred to as the Razor page itself. And then we have a code behind file or a page model file with the extension .cshtml.cs, where CS is short for C#. If you are using Visual Basic, it should be VB instead of CS. But typically, you should use C# as the programming language when working with ASP.NET Core. So the layout file, this .cshtml, is typically referred to as the Razor page, and this page has a mix of what you call this Razor syntax and pure HTML. Of course, you can also have CSS and JavaScript also here in this file. Both ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core is made by Microsoft. So let's get started with using ASP.NET Core with Razor. So here is the project that you will see when you start Visual Studio. For using ASP.NET Core with Razor, you should select this template, ASP.NET Core Web App with Razor Pages. And as you see here also, ASP.NET Core has lots of other templates that can be used for different purposes. But in this tutorial, we will use ASP.NET Core web app with Razor Pages. So let's go to Visual Studio and start creating our first ASP.NET Core web application. So now I have opened my Visual Studio on my computer. So this pops up. Then I just select create a new project. And then we come to this templates where you can select the template that we are going to use. So then basically I just type here ASP.NET Core, and then lots of templates will pop up, but as mentioned we should use this ASP.NET Core web app with Razor Pages. And here you see the C# language is used, so I just select this one, click next, and here you should type a name for your project. In this tutorial we are going to just create a simple Hello World application or something, so then I just type here Hello World app or something, and then you should specify a location. I just put this project and the solution in a folder here on my hard drive. I just created a temporary folder here, select this folder and the name of the project, click next. And here you need to select the framework. Depending on your version of Visual Studio, typically just select the latest version of .NET. Here you can choose to configure with HTTPS or not. Typically for new application you should use this one. I'm just making a basic Hello World application, so I just remove it, click Create, and then our ASP.NET Core web app with Razor Pages project will be created for us. We just need to wait a few seconds, and then our project pops up here, and here you see the solution, and it has created different folders, different files, etc. that you can use as a starting point for our application. So let's just start by just running the default project without making any changes, and then we will dig into more details later. So let's just click the run button here, or you can click here build and debug and start debugging, or click F5. I just click on this button in order to run and start our project. And since ASP.NET Core is a web development framework, it will build our code and start the default web browser that you have installed on your computer. And then here I see this default web application that has been created by using this ASP.NET Core web app template using these Razor Pages. So it's basically just a simple web application or a web page. It has a header, it has a footer, and it has a start page with some information here. Basically it's just an empty shell that you can use as a starting point when creating your ASP.NET Core web application. So let's dig into the different folders and files in our solution and in our project. So here we have the solution file, and in a solution we can have multiple projects. Here we have only one project, this Hello World app project, which is the project that we have just created. Then we have different folders and files. We have a folder called properties, and inside here we have some files. It's not so important. While here in www root we have different files for static information like CSS file, JavaScript files, different libraries, etc. We have also the favicon.ico, which is an icon that can be changed for the default icon that pops up in the upper left corner of our application. I just leave it as default. Here under pages we have the Razor pages itself, and the default Razor page is called index.cshtml. And then here we have the what we call the Razor page, and here we have index.cshtml.cs, which is the code behind file or the page model file. So here in index.cshtml we have a combination of Razor syntax and pure HTML code. So the code we see here is pure HTML. The code we see here is Razor code, and the Razor code is put into this @ and this symbol here. So this is a start of the Razor syntax, and this is the end of the Razor syntax. So in between these two we can put what we call a Razor code. Basically Razor code is more or less C# code, and here we have pure HTML code. So a Razor page, as we see here, is a combination of Razor code and HTML. And of course we can also include CSS, cascading style sheets, JavaScript code, etc. While here in the code behind file or page model file, which ends with .cs, this file contains pure C# code. The default page doesn't have any code, it just have a basic template that we can use as a starting point. And another important file in this project is this file appsettings.json. I'll open it. By default it's more or less empty, but here you can put your connection string if you are communicating with a database, etc. Typically you will put the connection string inside this appsettings.json file. Here under shared we have also some important files, especially this _layout.cshtml. So let's open this one. Basically here you can configure the main graphical user interface layout. And as you see, when I open the application, this default application, it has a header or a menu bar here with different files that I can click on. It has a privacy, it has home, and here also something in the bottom, and here is the main contents. So this here is the index.cs HTML file, where here we have some header and some footer, and this setup is configured here in this _layout.cs HTML file, which we have here. So here you see the header is specified. Here we have home and privacy, which was on top of the web page. And when we click on home, here you specify which page that should be open when we click on home. So when you click on home, this index.cs HTML file should be opened. When we click on the privacy on top, it should open this privacy file, which is here. This is just some default file, so of course you can just delete it if you don't need it in your application. And here in the bottom we have the footer. Here we have this, if you click on privacy, this privacy file will be open, and then this file is here, privacy.cs HTML. So typically these files it's just a basic example how you can create a header and a footer, and of course you can either remove it or replace it with your own files. But typically all the web pages or the Razor pages are put into this pages folder, and by default we have this index.cs HTML, which is the main file, and also some additional files has been created here, this error.cs HTML and this privacy.cs HTML, but these can be deleted and then just end up with this index file. Also, when you are going to create more advanced application, typically you also want to create separate classes, methods, etc. Then you can create a new folder. So because in the pages here you should create these Razor pages, these web pages here in the pages folder, while classes should typically be put into a separate folder. So then you can just right click here on the project, click add and a new folder, and then typically you can name the folder whatever you like, but typically the default name is models, and then inside this models folder you can create your different classes. That will not be part of this tutorial, but for later tutorials typically you need to create a folder where you can put all your classes, and typically or the preferred name for that folder is models, and then you can just right click, create, add, and then specify class, and then specify a proper name for your class, and that class will be created within this models folder. Now that we know the different folders and the different files and the purpose with these folders and files, let's start creating our first Hello World application. Then you can just use this index.cshtml as the file. So then let's just open it, and then let's just change some code. The default message is welcome. Here I can just type hello world instead, and this is just a folder to some help files that is not needed in our application, so I just remove it. And then in the paragraph here I just write something like this: my name is Hans Petter Halvorsen or something. This is my first ASP.NET Core application, something like this. So then I can just run it by click this button or F5, or build, or debug, start debugging, or start without debugging, but typically just use this F5, start debugging, or click on this one in order to open your web application in your default web browser. So basically that's our Hello World web application. So now I have changed the text there. Now it says Hello World, which I have put here. It's just an H1 tag in HTML. It also uses some CSS here in the background. I can of course also remove that part one. So let's just remove this class. Just use a pure H1 H1 tag like this, header one. Now I can click on this small icon here, hot reload. This means I can do some small changes here without rebuilding our code. So I just click on this one, and then you see it automatically changes here in our web application. So now it's just pure header one. I can also remove this center class here, just use an ordinary div. So here's div start and div end, and that is included in this div, and header one and just a paragraph. I can click on this hot reload and then just open my page here, and now you see it's left justified instead of centered here. Also of course a spelling mistake here, my. I just change it like this, click this hot reload, and then I got this application. Hello World, and this just a basic text here. And you have this default header and footer. We can just leave it or we can remove it. So I can click on privacy here. Here you can enter some privacy policy, etc. You do that in this privacy file. or you can just remove it and then click back to home in order to go to this index file like this. So basically this is how we use Visual Studio and the ASP.NET Core web application framework for creating a basic web application using this Razor syntax. Let's also see how we can create a new file here in the header. So now we have two files, home and privacy. Let's create a about page or something here. So then I just stop my application. Here under pages, I just right click in order to create a new web page. Right click, create or select add a Razor page. And then just use the default here, click add. And then you need to specify a name for your file. So then assume you want to have a about file or something, or a help file, whatever. Let's create a help file. So then I just select or write help.cs HTML, click add, and then this file will be created here under pages. Then let's just open it. So here is the previous one. Let's just save it. So then I just copy some code here from this one. This code, I just copy it and then just paste it into this new file that we have created, help.cs HTML. So here instead of hello world, I can just type help or something. And here we can type something, if you need help, send me an email or something like this. Of course you can write whatever you like here. So now we have created this help.cs HTML file. Now we need to put it into the header. Then you need to go here, shared, and find this underscore layout file, and then you just need to add one more of these. So I just copy this one like this, and then instead of privacy we can type help. Then when we click on help, we want to open this help.cs HTML file like this. You only need to type help. You don't need to type the file extension, which is CS HTML, because that's handled by default by the system. So you just type the text that should appear on the web page and the name of the file without any extension like this. So now I can just run my application. And then you see we have now home, privacy, and help. I can click on help, and then you see help. If you need some help, send me an email. Then I can select privacy, home to go back to the main page, etc. So basically this is a Hello World application created with ASP.NET Core. So far we have created just a basic ASP.NET Core web application. Let's dig into how to use this Razor syntax. So as mentioned earlier, each Razor page or web page is containing two files, namely this .cs HTML file, which contains a combination of Razor syntax and pure HTML. And you can also blend in CSS, JavaScript, etc. into this file as well. This file is referred to as the Razor page, while this cs.cs HTML.cs file contains pure C# code, and this file is sometimes called the code behind file or the page model file. Here you see how we can mix HTML and Razor syntax into this web page. So you use @ and this symbol to start the Razor code, and this symbol in order to end the Razor code. So everything between this start tag and end tag is Razor code. And basically, Razor code is just pure C# code that is used on the client side of the application. And then we can use also Razor syntax and blend it in between the HTML code like this. So here it's so-called the inline syntax, where we just use the @ tag and then the Razor code like this. So here I just created a variable, a string variable called my name, and then specify just my name here, and a semicolon, of course, since this is pure C# code. And then wherever I want to use that variable in my HTML code, I just use @ and the name of the variable like this. Here you see an example that we will create. I will just use this hello world as a starting point and just enter some Razor code. So here, this is the page we have already created, hello world, and my name is Hans Petter, etc. And then I want to show the current date on the web page itself. And then here I can just use the @ tag, and here I just specify datetime.no, which is a C# method or property that we can use directly in the web page by just using @. Because after the @ symbol, the compiler expects some Razor syntax, or basically just C# syntax like this. So let's create this basic example in Visual Studio and our Hello World application. So then we are back in Visual Studio and our Hello World application. So then I just continue on this index.cs HTML file. I just open it. And by default here now it's just Hello World, and my name is Hans Petter, etc. This is my first ASP.NET Core application. And then let's just create a new paragraph like this. And now I want to show the default, or sorry, the date and time just now. So date and time just now is something like that. And then I can use this @ in order to specify that now some Razor code should appear. And then I can start by just using this built-in date time that is part of C# dot, and this no method or property like this. Basically that's it. So let's just run our application. And then you see date and time just now is, and then you get the year, the month, and the day of the month, and the hour, minutes, and second like this. So this is our first Hello World application with some basic Razor syntax. Now let's create a variable instead. So here, since this is a Razor code, this is the start tag for creating Razor code, and this is the end tag. I just create a new line here. I can create a variable called var datetime or something, and then I can use this built-in date time object in C#. Now, and now I need to also specify a semicolon, because this is pure C# code. And now instead of using this here, I can just use this variable like this. And now I click on this hot to reload, open my web page, and then there will be no changes here because I just actually did the same, but I just created a variable here instead, and then just used the variable here. Also see here you have home page here, which is the name of the page. If you want another name here, you can just change this one. hello world or something. Click hot reload and go back to your page, and then you see now it states hello world here. So that's how you use some basic Razor syntax. Also here I have specified my name here, but let's just use a variable instead. So then I can create a new variable here, string name, and enter my name here. I can just copy this on to save some time, and a semicolon like this. And now instead of just entering my name here, I can just use this variable. So then I just use @ and the name of my variable, which is name. Save it, click on this hot reload, open the web page, and then you see the result is the same, but now this one comes from this variable here. So then I can change the name of the variable, the contents of the variable, Hans Petter Halvorsen, etc. here. Click hot reload, and then you see this additional text appears here. Just let's go back to this hot reload, and then you see like this. So basically this is a basic ASP.NET Core web page where I have starting to use some Razor syntax. Here is the start tag for using Razor code, and this is the end tag, and in between here we can put or create pure C# code, and then we can use also Razor syntax code inline in or blend it with the HTML code by using this @ tag like this. And since this Razor code here is pure C# code, I can also create any kind of C# code here. In this basic example, I have created a method. It's just called or named getName, and then I just define here string name Elvis Presley, and then return the name. And then I can just define a variable here, string name, and use or call the getName method like this. So let's just run this application. And now you see it's stated here Elvis Presley, and now I'm using this method here instead. And of course I could also have used the method here directly inline in between or blended with the HTML code. So instead of creating this variable here, I could just remove this one. And here I can just use the method directly, getName, like this. So let's just run this one, click this hot reload, and then you see I get some error here. Since this getName is a method, of course I need to have a parenthesis here. Click hot reload, and then my name is Elvis Presley. So here I've just defined a basic C# method, and then I'm using the method here as part of the HTML code by using this @ in order to indicate that this is a Razor code. So far we have been just using this Razor page. We haven't been using the code behind file or the page model file. So let's see how we can use the page model file or code behind file in order to send data from this code behind file to this Razor page. Now, so far we have just specified the name here, but assuming we want to display the name that are stored in the database or something, typically we need to use the code behind file in order to be able to retrieve the name that are stored in the database. So let's just show a simple example. We will not use a database here. I will use a database later in later tutorials, but now I will just use this code behind file, just specify a variable here in the code behind file, string name, just as the previous example, but now we are not defining the variable here in this page file, the Razor page file, but we are defining it in the code behind file like this. So string name, since I'm going to send this information to the Razor page, I need to specify that this variable should be public. So I need to specify public string name like this. And then typically you would use this onGet method, which is created by default. So basically when a user requests a web page, all the code inside this onGet method will always be executed on the server before it's send the page to the client. And also here in the Razor page, in order to reach this variable that is created in the page model file or code behind file, I need to specify @model, because we refer to this page as a page model file. Then we need to just specify this keyword model, so @model and then dot, and then IntelliSense will give you a list of available options, and one of the options will be name, since this variable has been created here as a public variable. So let's see how we can, let's go back to Visual Studio and create this basic example. So now we are back in Visual Studio and we have this index.cs HTML file. That's the Razor page. We want to use this page model file or code behind file, which we find here by clicking on this small arrow and just double click to open it. And by default it's more or less empty, and then here you see this onGet method has been created by default, but it's empty. Sorry, I'll just mess it up here like this. So now we want to just create this public string. Typically, since this is a class and this is a method and this is a method, we just put it here on top of the class like this here. And then just public name, specify the data type, of course, string, and the name of the variable. I just use name like this. And then I can here in the onGet method specify name equals to my name like this, or here you can specify whatever you like, and of course a semicolon, since this is pure C# code. So here I specify here a variable called name of type string. I specify it to be public, and here in the onGet method I just specify that name should be equal to Hans Petter Halvorsen like this. Just save it, go back to the page, the web page, the Razor page. So now I don't need this method anymore. Just remove that one. Now here, where I'm going to display my name, so my name is, and I just use this @ and now I need to use this model and dot, and then you will get a list of available choices here, and then you just find this name like this and just click run, and then you see the result will be the same, but now these results are specified, and is the result of this or the contents of this variable is specified here in the code behind file or in the page model file like this. I can change the name to Elvis Presley or something. Click hot reload, and then you see my name is Elvis Presley. So basically this is how you use and create ASP.NET web pages using this Razor syntax. And then you see there's a link between code behind file, which is specified here. This is pure C# code, and a link between the Razor page, which is defined here. And then you can send data between this file by specifying variables to be public, and then you just use @model and dot and the name of the variable. In this case, the name of the variable is name, which is specified here. So I guess that's all for now. So in this tutorial, you have learned how to create a simple ASP.NET Core web application using these Razor pages. I will create many more tutorials regarding ASP.NET Core, so just stay tuned, and thank you and goodbye.